And I see the same kinds of things happening now that happened through my medical career, including sometimes you meet resistance. I remember when I first started doing cervical medullary decompressions in achondroplasts. These are dwarfs, the most common form of dwarfism. And 7% of those babies would die spontaneously. And nobody had a good solution. And sometimes surgeons would try to go in because what happened is the bone was compressing their brainstem, and they would try to decompress it, but usually it made it worse or it killed them. And I was at a conference in Rome. It was the first international conference on human achondroplasia, and all the world geneticists had weighed in on this. And it came my turn to speak. And I started talking about this new procedure that we had designed to decompress these children. And they were outraged. They said, you surgeons think you can do anything. You're the reason that these people die. If you leave them alone, only 7% of them will die. Just stop thinking that you're so high and mighty. And oh, they were outraged. And when I kept doing the procedure at Hopkins, I got complaints there, people writing to the dean and the president, and the Maryland Medical Society, even the AMA. But by that time, I had done enough of these cases that I was able to reveal the data, and it was clear that not a single one had died, and they were all doing well. And that ended the controversy. It was gone, just like that. And that's the wonderful thing, actually, about medicine and science. People do respond to data, not so much in the political world. But, you know, you just continue to work at that. And one of the things that I'm working at right now is trying to help people in the African American community realize why situations like what happened in Ferguson happen. And people have got to wake up and realize that when you raise anybody, I don't care what their ethnicity is, in a situation where you don't have fathers in the home, to teach people how to relate to authority and how to take on personal responsibility, when you have a culture that teaches you from a young age that the way to resolve conflict is with violence, when you have a culture where you have easy access to alcohol and drugs, what you're going to end up with are people who are eventually going to run up against the law, or they're going to run up against somebody else who came from their culture who's badder than they are. In either case, they're going to end up dead or incarcerated, or something bad is going to happen. And we have to stop that situation from occurring. But it will not stop until we recognize that there's going to have to be some personal responsibility. You can't always blame it on somebody else. And as far as in the black communities these days, 73% of babies are born out of wedlock. Now, when that baby is born, for the most part, the education of that young woman ends. And that child is 4 to 9 times more likely to grow up in poverty. That is creating a vicious cycle, which is actually leading the African American community downward economically in this country. And we've got to find a way to stop it. Now, you know, I got a little criticism last week from the right because I said what we have to do after we get the economy straightened out is take some of those tax dollars and devote them to daycare facilities so that these women who have made mistakes can have a safe place to deposit their children so they can get their GED or their associate degree or their bachelor's degree or even a higher degree so that they can become self-sufficient, because in the long run that helps everybody. Yes. That's the way we have to think. And as long as people just sit around and point fingers and say, well, no, I'm not giving anybody to this, I'm not, no, they did this out, we're never going to get anywhere as a society. And if we look at the principles that are established in this book, we won't find that to be the case. Now,